So hello, my colleagues, and I hope everyone is well. I want to pick up right here, and this is chapter 2. So this is part 2 video I'm making. And basically, we were discussing about the channeling of funds from savers to spenders. And they give a nice example here. And to give out, to tell you, explain to you how that's all playing out. So let's just go through this rather quickly because it's interesting. Suppose you saved $1,000 this year, but no borrowing or lending is possible because no financial markets are available. If you do not have an investment opportunity that will permit you to earn income with your savings, you will hold up onto the $1,000 and it will earn no interest. And let me add my own point to this, and inflation will eat it away. Remember, inflation is an evil that reduces your buying power. You always want to do investments that will increase your buying power, right? And overtake inflation. So Carl the carpenter has a productive use for your $1,000. He can use it to purchase a new tool that will shorten the time it takes him to build a house, thereby earning an extra $200 per year. If you could get in touch with Carl, you could lend him the $1,000 at a rental fee of $100 per year, and both of you would be better off. You would earn $100 per year on your $1,000 instead of the zero amount that you would earn otherwise, right? Makes sense, right? While there's like a bartering system here. While Carl would earn $100 more income per year, the $200 extra earnings per year minus the $100 fee for the use of the funds. So you can see, without financial markets, you and Carl would never get together. But the intermediaries are the ones who channel this money from you to him, right? So basically, the magic words here are economic efficiency, right? So we want to see economic efficiency in action. So they make an interesting point here, and they say the existence of financial markets is beneficial even if someone borrows for a purpose other than increasing production in a business. So if you're married, have a good job, you want to buy a house, right? This is normal life stuff, right? Without financial markets, you are stuck. You cannot buy the house and must continue to live in your tiny apartment. So, you can read this and go through it, okay? And basically, there's a nice little thing here, and hopefully we'll talk about the financial crises and the breakdown in financial markets. And chapter 12, they talk about that. Okay, if you want to jump ahead. All right, so let us plow ahead. All right, so let's look at debt and equity markets a little bit here. So a firm or an individual can obtain funds in a financial market, right, in two ways, right? So the most common is through the issuance of a debt instrument, otherwise known as a bond, right? So sometimes company will issue bonds and you will basically buy the bond and loan them money. And you can see it's a bond, and you, from an individual, it would be a mortgage. A mortgage is almost like a bond, right? In the opposite direction, right? In the opposite direction, which is a contractual agreement by the borrower to pay the holder of the instrument fixed dollar amounts at regular intervals. So here's you loan a company money. Let me make a point. You'll get 6 months, every 6 months you will get coupons or interest, it's called. And when the bond matures, you'll get your money back, right? Your principal. The money you loaned them is called the principal. And that's, again, you'll get your money back at what's known as the maturity date. Okay, so we want to make sure that's clear. And this, I think I might have a lot of information up on the Blackboard or up on my YouTube site, which you should go to on bonds. Okay, and I'll check the Blackboard and see if there's a folder on bonds. So the maturity, again, is the number of years until that instrument's expiration date. A debt instrument is basically short term if it's maturity, and this is, if it's less than a year, it's considered short term, and longer than a year, otherwise known, um, and they say 10 years, but obviously there's a window there. But long term kind of implies maybe 5, maybe 10, even 30-year treasury bonds. And you can see they'll say between 1 and 10, it's intermediate, long term, and short term. And those terms are a little bit relative, but short term is considered typical. All right, so the second method, which we'll talk about now, and if you don't want to buy bonds and you're willing to take some risk, is the issuance of equities. By the way, bonds will have different ratings depending on the worthiness of the company. If it's if they're AAA rated, if the company has good financials. So you always got to, before you buy bonds, you got to check on the financial health actually of the company, and see how it is. All right. All right. So equities are basically either known as common stock or even preferred stock. All right. And we'll talk about both. And basically, you become a partial owner in the company, and you're going to share in the net income, hopefully, if the company pays dividends. Now, it's not always guaranteed that a company is going to pay dividends. So basically, you become a small partial owner. And again, if they pay dividends, you'll get them. Now, I own both types of stocks. I own stocks that pay dividends, and I own stocks that don't pay dividends, because what I'm looking to do is have the company channel the dividends that they would normally pay back into the company, such as Google, and raise the capital gains on the stock. Now, there's no maturity date with stock, right? So we've got to make sure that's clear. So you own a portion of the company, right? And you have the right to vote on, and sometimes the voting is meaningless because your vote you don't have enough votes to make any changes to the companies, and you'll elect the directors. All right, so there's a disadvantage of owning stock, and let's just talk about that rather quickly. There's a disadvantage of owning stock. You're low man on the totem pole, meaning if the company goes belly up, they call you a residual claimant. Okay, so if the company does bad, like Enron did several years ago, or I think it's Lehman Brothers or Bear Stearns, the bondholders get paid first, then the preferred stockholders get paid next, what's ever left, and you get paid last. So you're a residual claimant. And the fact that you get paid less means you're taking the greatest risk, which means you should expect the greatest return. Okay, which means the dividends should be larger compared to the dividends on the preferred or the bonds. Okay, so you can see what they say here. Debt holders do not share in this benefit because their dollar payments are fixed. Your coupons on your bonds are fixed, right? But a lot of times dividends will increase if the company did well. And Chapter 8 will go in detail the pros and cons of debt versus equity, and maybe I'll make a special video on that, okay? But that's an important concept. And basically they have a little blurb here about the total value of equities in the United States, and they somehow fluctuate between 30-40 trillion. But that that changes every year. All right, so what I'll do is I'll kind of stop this here because I like to keep it to about 9 to 10 minutes. All right, and what we'll do is I'll pick up on the next part on and go through what primary and secondary markets are. Okay, but it's important you do some research on bond and stock markets. And again, I'll look and see if I can put up some stuff on the Blackboard, if it's not there already.